Okay, hello. Welcome to Give Specifics Career Cloud. I am here with Mr. Richard Fulton Jr. And how are you doing today?
Doing great. I'm doing great. How about you?
I am great. I'm so glad that you took the time out to sit with us today. I'm going to read your very accomplished bio to let
Okay.
everyone know who you are and what it is that you do. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Richard Fulton Jr. is an operations manager with 7 years of experience in the airline industry and 2 years of experience in the advertising industry. Richard has a strong background in analytics with a history of providing marketing insights for leading corporations across various industries and operations insights to improve airline efficiency and safety. Richard has recently built on his analytical background to shift into project management, coordinating strategic efforts with international partners. Richard earned a business administration degree with a concentration in marketing from Morehouse College in 2011 and recently finished his MBA at Emory University's Gazetta, is it Gazetta
Go sweater. Yep.
School of Business at the end of 2019. Richard is inspired every day by his wife, Desiree, and their son. In his free time, Richard enjoys reading, playing video games, watching zombie movies, and traveling.
Yeah.
Great. Well, awesome. Well, congratulations on your second degree
Thank you. I appreciate
as
that.
well. Great. So you kept it in Atlanta, right?
I did keep it in Atlanta. That's right.
There's nothing wrong with that. Well, that is great. So we want to just get into what it is that you do currently,
Yeah.
what it is that you do now. So can you tell me a bit about your career path and what led you to the role that you're in today?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's important to start, while I was at Morehouse College, I had an opportunity to intern at a few different places. So one of my more notable internships was with Hallmark Cards. While there, I got into, there's kind of my introduction to analytics, right? You have to do a lot of analysis on the cards that they do for each season. So think about it, they put a lot of effort into getting out these cards that you go into the store and pick out, right? You look at a card, you flip it over and read it and all this other stuff.
Right.
On the back end, there's a whole team that tries to make improvements so that it gets you find the card even better the next year, right? And so I did a lot of analysis while I was there to try to figure out which types of cards really work the best. That kind of sparked my interest in analytics. So I ended up, while I was in college, I was able to interview for my first job with an airline with Delta. What happened was I interviewed with a marketing group. When they hired me, they said, "Hey, Richard, we really like you. You've done well in this interview. You're clearly a bright person. We see that you have this analytics background. We want you to join our analytics team." And so I did that. And again, this was still marketing analytics. So all the types of different email campaigns that you see out there promoting flights to Caribbean destinations, right, for vacation. We
Mm-hmm.
want to understand who's most likely to purchase those promotions. Exactly. And be able to market to them better in the future, right? So, we always want to understand how successful we are and how to make it better. From that point, I ended up getting recruited to an ad agency here in Atlanta. About a year after I had started at Delta, which was a really good experience. I was able to do a lot of really good analytics promotions work, website optimization work for a few different companies around the city. I thought it was a very insightful time. I had a good time. The ad industry is remarkable, with everything that they do. What had happened and what brought me back to Delta was actually what a former boss. He said, "Hey, Richard, I have a really good opportunity that I think you'd be a great fit for, right? I want you to come in. It's a shift from marketing. It's in operations, but you may find that the results that you see from your analysis may be more immediate, right? With marketing, it takes a while. You provide some insights, they take it back, they work on a new campaign, and you may not really see results of that campaign for 3 to 6 months, right? Just because it has to go get filmed, get put out into the public, and all that kind of stuff. With operations, it's very easy for me to suggest a fix. They go out and make the switch almost immediately, maybe sometimes even the next day, right? And then I can see within a week or two whether or not things are improving, right? And so, that's kind of my career path to get back into Delta. From there, I think it's been it's always been a great company to work for, but I've really enjoyed, again, providing those insights, being able to take, a big set of data. If you think about, I guess you hear about big data all the time, right? That's kind of what I'm into, taking some data, finding the story that's there within it, and be able to tell a good story and translate it to our internal customers. That could be engineers, it could be safety representatives, it could be executives who have to make some big decision, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's that.
And
More receipt. No, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I like what you said about translating the story that's behind the data. We hear often, and almost in every industry, even the creative career fields, about data now. And
Yeah,
for some people, it makes them cringe to hear that
yeah,
word because it seems very black and white and very numerical. And people are like, that's not the way my brain thinks. It's not how I
yeah,
operate. People just
yeah,
think of Excel spreadsheets. But what you said was so important about taking that information and finding out what the story is and then being able to do something about it.
yeah. No, definitely. It's funny that you say that. People do kind of cringe when they think about data, right? Numbers. I can say that when I was in school, I would have never thought that I would have been a data person. But once I got into it, I realized that there's a lot of creativity in it. You
Hmm.
have to be able to really understand what you're looking at, right? Usually it's not a simple yes or no, right? And sometimes it takes the point of conveying that to someone. Hey, this isn't a simple yes or no sort of answer for you. I can't tell you, I can't usually tell you pretty distinctly, you need to go this way versus that way. But what usually happens is I can tell you a story about what might happen if you go down the left path versus what happens if you go down the right path, right? And so it's there's always an ability to kind of, again, tell a story about it. I mean, that's really what it's about.
Very
Yeah,
interesting. Okay, great. Well, you've had quite the path, but actually, it's been pretty consistent,
it
believe it or
has been.
not. You
Yes.
you still kind of stuck in the analytic field. So, building off of that, what skills, abilities, and personal attributes are essential to the success in your field?
Yeah, I'd say you always have to be open to new technology, right? If you think about data analysis, it seems like a fairly young field compared to some of the other professions, right? If you think about medicine, it goes back thousands of years. Data analytics might go back to maybe to the 50s, right? So it's pretty young, meaning that there's still new technology coming out, right? So you have to be very open and adaptive and willing to learn. You also have to be able to communicate pretty well, right? Again, you're taking something that most people do cringe at, right? I mean, I can walk into a room with an executive. They still kind of cringe when I tell them, hey, I have a data report for you, right?
Right.
And so, you do have to be able to communicate and put people at ease and really explain things well. And then I think just a general sort of willingness to work, right? Sometimes, like I said, the answers don't come easy. And so you do have to be able to I guess, be willing to really stay consistent with something, be persistent in finding an answer
Mhm.
that can help people out.
Okay. Those are really good character traits and attributes to have in a lot of different fields for sure.
Yeah,
But definitely, I can see how that flexibility and willingness to learn new technology is really crucial in your field with data analytics. Absolutely. Okay, great. Thank you. And when you feel overwhelmed in this field,
yeah,
right? What are some things that you do? I mean, you're really in the thick of it now in your career,
mm,
and daily we're having to adapt to change. And
right,
right now, quite recently, everyone's trying to have to adapt to the current climate of the way things are. And so, what
yes.
are some things that you do to make sure that you keep yourself going in the field that you're in right now?
Yeah, I think it's probably things that again could apply to really all fields, right? What I've learned about myself is that if I ever get overwhelmed, it's very easy for me to kind of let my mind race, right? And I notice myself thinking of worst case scenarios. If this report doesn't run the way I need it to, or if I can't pull this insight together, it's going to be the worst case scenario for me when I go and have to present it in a room full of people, right? Um, and so I usually have to catch myself, just say, all right, Richard, well, what's really at stake here, right? Is it the fact that you won't get it done when you thought you would have, right? What are some options that you can take here? Can you ask for help? Can you maybe push back a deadline? Say, hey, this is a really difficult problem. I need an extra day or two, right? Usually people are really open to that kind of thing. And again, asking for help, like I said before, maybe someone else is going through a similar issue that they can provide some insight for. But yeah, I think ultimately when I'm overwhelmed, I try to find a way to calm myself down. Things really aren't that bad.
Right,
It's
absolutely. Right. And kind of what's the worst that can happen
exactly.
situation. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know you've been in analytics in various industries. Um, do you notice a stark difference between being in the aviation or airline industry versus being in analytics in your experience at Hallmark or with the ad agency? Have you noticed a really big difference? How could you prepare someone who's really interested in all of the career paths within the field of working in the airline industry?
Yeah, I can say that I haven't noticed a huge difference. What I think is very consistent is that base willingness to dig into data, right? If you're willing to just get started in it, willing to figure out what you can find out, I think that's really consistent across the board, right? Numbers are numbers, and so it's about you. I don't know. I kind of see it as a way to kind of learn a business or an industry, right? If you can really dig into the numbers and are willing to make that start, you can understand pretty quickly what's important and what isn't, right? And I think that's helpful.
Okay. Okay, great. That's great advice. Great advice. Thank you so much for that. So, what do you wish you would known starting out in analytics overall that you kind of found out along the way? And you think back, you think, man, I could have used this information before I got started. Is there anything that you wish that you would have known
Mm.
prior to getting into it?
Yeah, I think back about some of the, I guess, more negative parts of my career. Or just opportunities that I could have taken advantage of. And I'd say it's definitely more so about never really being satisfied with the work that I do. Right. I think it's easy to get to a point where you say, all right, this person asks this one simple question. I'm giving them a simple report. Right. Here you go. That's your question answered. Have a nice day. I think it's important to go the extra mile at times. Right. If it makes sense. I'm not saying, don't sleep and do
Right.
nothing but work, right? But if you have some time to add an extra insight, right? Do a little bit more digging to find something that may be more helpful to them, right? Say there, again, if they're looking to build out a campaign for people going to the Caribbean, maybe you say, all right, these people go to the Caribbean X times a year. They're willing to spend this much money on a ticket. That answers their question. But maybe you could also say these people are also willing to pay for these upgrades, or they're also willing to buy a ticket to South America or to Europe, right? And so maybe you can also target them for these pieces. Again, just sometimes that extra nugget of information, that extra piece of knowledge goes the distance for you in your career.
Okay. Wow. That's really important to hear too, because sometimes people do just offer what's being asked and don't think beyond what's being asked and how it can help that person who needs that information, how it can ultimately help your career. Correct.
Right.
So
I mean, in the data analysis field, you're really trying to help out customers, right? I like to think about that. And so, if I'm going into a store, right, it's easy for someone to tell me, all right, yeah, the TVs are over on aisle 8, right?
right.
And it's another thing for someone to walk me there and say, all right, these are the TVs. These are some that can get the job done. These are some, you'll pay more, but you'll get these features with it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what advice would you give the college student who's trying to make that decision now of what do I do next? What advice would you give them if they're looking to go into your field? What can they be doing now?
Yeah, I think that some advice that I would give to a college student, I think that they should really consider their willingness to work with data. I mean, clearly, I think that's a big part of it, right? Because I've seen a lot of people who have failed in this industry or in this field just because they think that they hear the buzzword big data and they think it's going to be really fun and exciting and it's what they want to do, and they get into it and it's not that for them, right? Or they don't really want to put in the work to excel in, right? Or they're a little bit afraid of digging around with numbers, right? So I think that's key. Just like any career, right? Do you really want to do this, right? Understand what that's all about. And then on top of that, if you're pretty committed to it, look up who some good companies are that are using data analysis, different industries, different fields. I mean, it's really applicable across most industries, right? And then understand some good use cases, right? There's a case that people always reference, which is a Target case, right? Target was able to identify through data, a particular customer set. And so what happened is Target was sending mailers out to a girl, to a family's house, right? And it looked like a pretty normal Target ad, but then they always had something about baby products, right? And one day a dad walks into this Target, irate. He says, "You guys keep sending my daughter stuff about baby products. Stop sending her stuff, right? She's not having a baby, she's whatever age, right?" It turned out that Target had identified through data analysis that this girl was actually pregnant, right? She was about to have a baby. Based on the purchase that she'd already made, they said, "Oh, she's on the track for women that have babies. Let's get her, baby products. That's what she needs to buy." And the dad didn't even know, and so that's a really famous sort of case there.
Through data analysis, you're almost kind of, you guys are the people who, when we are going through social media or whatever, and an ad pops up, they're like, how did they know?
Yeah, no, that's very much the case.
Is it not data analysis though, that field, right?
It is data analysis, right? Okay. Data analysis and algorithm writing, different applications of it can definitely help out industries in all kinds of ways.
Right,
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in a way, I think there's a lot of negativity that comes with that. How do you know that I'm getting ready to go to get some coffee? And there's a lot of negativity that comes with data analysis. I think when it in the field of marketing, of really knowing what type of consumer I am as a person, yes, and privacy. But then there's also that helping me as a consumer in the convenience of, okay, my traits and my behavior as a consumer. So instead of me spending all day looking for the perfect daycare, what I'm interested in based upon, so I think we also have to look at what can data analysis do and analytics do in various fields that can help us as people and as consumers. And I think it's important to say that too, that you're helping people. And I'm sure in your industry, my family and I like to travel a lot as well. And we kind of want to know what are the best deals and when to buy our flights and things like that. And so, when I think about your industry and you're in operations now, I also want to know that I'm safe.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I love to travel, but I'm one that doesn't like turbulence. I mean,
nobody likes that.
Right. So it's important that I know that there are people like you that are thinking about flyers like me. I'm the flyer who likes to travel, but I don't want a long flight. I don't want to stop, several places. And, and I want to know there's people that are trying to figure out ways to make me happy as a consumer. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
And not a commercial or an ad, but I do happen to fly Delta most.
That's good to hear. Great to hear.
So, we always like to, at Career Cloud and Give Specific, we always make sure that we ask our interviewees what type of books that they would recommend. So when you think about your go-to book, maybe it's one, maybe it's three, your go-to book that has helped you in your career field, or maybe just helped you as a person, what would you recommend to our listeners and viewers that they get into and dig into if they have not yet? What book or books would you recommend?
Yeah. So I think I have probably one book that helped me out most of my career so far. It's a bit surprising, but it's a very short book. It's called Self-Leadership and the 1-Minute Self-Manager. It's very straightforward, very easy book. It's almost a story, right? If you think about a business book, that's usually not the case. But it's all about really understanding where you are in the learning curve of a new job and knowing when to ask for help, right? More often than not, you see people who may struggle with that. It's seemingly simple concept, but it's also very difficult to really understand when to ask for help in a field. You don't want to seem like you're not able to understand something. You don't want to bother people. But I think, asking for help is phenomenally better than failing, right? And so, I managed to read this book just before moving into leadership. and it helped me tremendously. I mean, just in knowing when a problem came up, whether or not I could handle it myself, or whether I really did need someone to help me out with that. And then as far as books that have helped me probably personally, I think an important book was autobiography of Malcolm X. I think that it taught me a lot. When I read it, it taught me a lot about maybe self-confidence and really understanding where I gained my confidence from. And then another book that helped me out was a book called Fahrenheit 451. So it's a pretty interesting book, novel. It's very helpful in understanding, I guess, the impact of sort of just going with the crowd, right? Thinking critically, the importance of that, and being able to make your own decisions.
Right. Great books. Well, I haven't read the first, but I have the second and third. And we'll definitely make sure that we get those books and include it in our gift specific website, because we want to make sure that our listeners and viewers know that it's important to read, and that some of the things that you're reading are influencing and impacting you as a decision maker in your career and you as a person. So I don't want to take any more of your time. Again, thank you for spending your afternoon with me at Career Cloud. And is there anything that you want to promote or offer? We want to make sure that if you have a book that you're writing, that we make sure our viewers know what your book is.
I appreciate that. No, nothing yet. Yet. I appreciate the offer, though.
Okay, well, you work on that book for us then. And
Definitely.
I want our listeners and our viewers to know to definitely stay tuned. We have some exciting interviews coming up. And I think that the information that you gave was very impactful and insightful. And I think it's going to help many of our students. If you are interested, if you like the material and the content that we're providing, please make sure that you follow us on Instagram at Give Specific, follow us on Facebook, and make sure that you let your people know too that they can find your interview and others like yours on those two platforms. And we operate through, we are a nonprofit and we operate through donations. So if you're interested in knowing people who want to donate to Give Specific, we're on patreon.com at Give Specific, as well as paypal.me at Give Specific, or / Give Specific. Right. And thank you again. And I hope that you have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.